daughter wants to talk about fishing. I talk about the first fish I ever caught before I was 5 years old. A trout. Carried it on a stick, probably up the main street of Wyndham, New York. First fish I ever caught. Then we moved to Catskill, and if there was running water, as a 5 or 6 years old, I figured I ought to have fish in it. So we had sewers that run through the village. Catskill, we never had them on the wood. And I could look through the grates, see the water running down. So I would take my little stick with a cord on it, a fish hook on it, and fish through the grates of that. So of course I never caught anything, but I didn't know that there was a caught. And as I got older, I used to fish for shiners in the Catskill Creek. Now shiners never got very big, maybe 12 inches was a big shiner, but they usually ran around 9 inches, 10 inches. And we fished for them where the sewers emptied in. And the bait we used for them was we'd make balls of dough. We'd take some flour, some water, and make dough balls out of them, make little dough balls out of them, catch them. And what we do, the fun was catching them with a bobber. And the nice thing about it was this was depression times, and every little dollar, $half, quarter amounted a lot. So what I would do, I would get a mess of, say, 25 of them, all on a string, and I'd go through the color district in Catskill there, and sell them for a penny a piece. Now this color fella, he paid it 25 cents, and he had a big meal for he and his family. It was cheap for him, and it gave me 25 cents to spend, which was a lot of money. And what I'll digress from this fishing and the rest of the thing to tell you a little bit of what a dollar would do when I was growing up before the war. All right, if I had a dollar, I made from caddying or someplace, but I had a dollar. What I could do with that dollar, I could take my girlfriend to the movies. Now that was 25 cents a piece. That was 50 cents. I'd buy a big thing of popcorn. That was 10 cents. Now I've got 60 cents spent. After the movie, we'd come out and we'd go down to the Maker's restaurant there. We'd get a ham and cheese toasted, a grilled cheese sandwich. That's a grilled cheese sandwich. It was 10 cents a piece. A Coke was a nickel a piece. Now I've got 90 cents spent. I give a 10-cent tip. I'd be a big tipper and give a 10-cent tip. For a dollar, I take a girl to the movies. We had popcorn. We come out. We had a grilled cheese sandwich and a Coke and a tip for a dollar. So things are changing. And when my grandchildren get the old bell tell about the thing that they used to buy, where they bought a car for only $30,000, and probably their grandchildren were talking about a car for $120,000 at that time. But that was one of the things I did with fishing. And as I got to older and got more advanced and learned more, I got into trout fishing. And trout fishing, I got fishing mainly with worms in those days. And I caught my share of trout, but to catch a share of trout on worms, you should fish the stream right after the rainstorm, when the stream got muddied up and the worms were floating from the bank into the stream, and that was the best time to catch trout on worms. And then I found out of the people who could fly fish. And there was a paper hanger, an interior decorator in our community whose name was Northrop. And he had a reputation of being a pretty good fly fisherman. And he done work for me, painting the house and interior like that. And one time I saw him coming out of the bank, and I was talking to him. I said, how about taking me fly fishing and teaching me to fly fish? I was messing around on my own, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And he says, no way. He says, you'll catch fish, I won't be able to catch them. He never did another nickel's worth of work for Traver McCurry. I'd had the house painted a couple times after that, and I never did he do any more work for me. So damn, wouldn't even help a guy teach a guy to fly fish. Now we had another interior decorator in Hudson, New York. His name was Pearlie the Newsom. And Pearlie had a national reputation in the fly fishing. He fished in national tournaments. He wrote articles like that. Pearlie was an expert fisherman. And he took me fishing. We went on a lot of trips together. He taught me most everything I knew about fly fishing. I've been up to the laboratory with him for salmon. I fished in Vermont, New England states with Pearlie. I fished all over. I learned a lot from Pearlie. And then when Gary had married Kathleen, Gary wanted to get into fly fishing. So I tried to turn some of the things I knew from Pearlie over to Gary and got Gary to go to fly fishing with Pearlie. And he learned some things from Pearlie. Now, there wasn't a jealous bone in Pearlie's body. He would show anybody that he could know anything about could. And Pearlie Newsom got me into catch and release fishing. Pearlie was the type that wanted to catch fish, not necessarily keep them. And so what we would do with fly fishing, we practically always caught the fish in the corner of the lip. And so you could remove that hook without hurting the fish. Now with worms and things like that, you get that caught down in the throat. And when you want to take the hook out, you always damage the trout, and they wouldn't live because of the injuries they suffered. But fly fishing was nice. You could catch the fish, and 19 times out of 20, you could release the fish without hurting them. Now, of course, you had to know how to release the fish, too. After you caught the fish, you handle it very gently in your hands, in the net. You got the fish under the water. You got the fish facing the direction of the water's coming from. You took the hook out, and then you had the trout facing the way the water's coming, and you worked the fish back and forth, resuscitated them. Sometimes it would take quite a while. Sometimes it would take 10 minutes of doing that until finally the fish got enough strength to swim away on its own. But that is the catch and release of trout fishing. And like I said, Pearlie Van Dusen and I have a lot of fun fishing with him. And with my son-in-law, Gary, I've had a lot of fun with Gary too. We've gone over a lot of places to fish, and we've had a lot of fun. One time with Gary, we were down in West Virginia, fishing in the mountains of West Virginia, real hillbilly country. And we had these, Gary and I both were tall, you know, in fairly good shape. Wasn't that old then. And we were wearing these Australia hats. And this woman come up to me one time. She says, if I were you, I wouldn't wear those hats around here. They look like revenuers' hats. So Karen and I, as the moms of West Virginia, we got rid of those hats up there. And another time we had those hats on, Gary and I had those hats on, was in New Jersey. It was shortly after the opening day of New Jersey. And we went to this fish on the stream. Boy, there was quite a lot of people fishing on that stream. We came on that stream, big guys, dark glasses, those hats on. That stream emptied out so fast, there were so many people that were fishing there that didn't have a license. Why would where'd everybody go? And I guess everybody thought we were game protectors and all like that. But we emptied that stream pretty fast.
Where would you like to fish but you never did?
Well, I'd like to have fished down in the Bahamas for bonefish. Never got to fish for bonefish. They're exciting fish to fish for. They're strong and they're very fast, but I never got to fish for them. And I've got a story about fish that are strong to fish for. There's fish that come up the Hudson River to spawn on the little creeks up there. And they're very strong fishermen. Now, Mom didn't know anything about fishing, but I said, come on, how about going down and we'll fish with stripers. I said, stripers. Well, she didn't know anything about it. So I fit her up with a pair of boots, was about 3 sizes too large for her. Took one of my old rods, hooked it up with a line, took her out in the backyard, put an old beat-up fly on it, and taught her a little bit about casting. I could just cast it out, let the current take it on down. Of course, she's worried about drowning and all that stuff. We get her hooked up, we take her down to the old Hudson there, the stream where the stripers come in to feed. And so I set her in this place, and I went above her about 20 yards above her. And I hear her say, I think I got one on. I hadn't even got my line in the water yet. And she's got a fish on. I get down there, sure enough, she had a fish on. And the funny part about it was, I forgot to change the fly, the old beetle fly that I had her practicing with in the yard. I forgot to change it. And she caught a striper on, and I didn't even have my line in the water fished yet. So Mom has never fished much, but that was one experience with her fishing. Of course, some other experience with her fishing. I don't think we were married. Well, we sure hadn't been married long. And we were fishing up in the glen in Catskill when this fisherman comes along, and he said to me, he says, how you doing? Oh, I says, not very good. And he says, well, how's your daughter doing? I said, daughter? First, that's my wife. Or something. From then on, she didn't go fishing with me. How's your daughter doing? So my couple of experiences with fishing with Mother was rather limited. Although when we did come down here, I'd had heart attacks like that, and I'd had a lot of physical problems. Of course, we've got a stream that runs right behind our house here in Cherokee Village that has sunfishing, reamhead, and no cold water fish, no trout or anything, but it does have fishing. And I told Sophie, when we come down here, I said, I don't know how long I'm going to live. I said, I may live only 6 months. do is go down in the back of the house and catch one fish in my memory. I mean, catch a fish, I don't care how long it takes you. Just catch a fish in my memory. Well, I've had about 18 years, so that 6 months stretched into a pretty enjoyable time. Oh, I still never fished the stream in the back of us because it's warm and won't support trout, and it's slippery as hell. And when I get time to fish, I want to go up and fish one of the trout streams here, either the Spring River or the North Fork or the White River. Those are big, well-known rivers. The Spring River near us used to be a tremendous stream. They never stopped any fish under 13 inches. When they put fish in, they were nice fish. They didn't put in little bits of it. And I could go there and fish and have that place almost to myself. The stream didn't reproduce. You had to put the trout in because the alcohol, or the water, fish wouldn't reproduce in that.
Because of the what?
Oh, the chemicals in the water.
Okay.
Chemicals in the water. But its reputation got so good that we got a lot of people up from Jonesboro and from Memphis and like that. And it got so that, and these weren't fly fishermen at all, they were mainly bait fishermen. And we got so many of them fishing on the stream that it was just no fun. We were just stepping on each other, so many people. So I stopped fishing that stream except during the winter time. I did most of my fishing on the White River and the Norfolk River. The White River is a long river, I don't know, at least 30 miles long. It originates out of the Bull Shoals Dam. And right where it originates, it's 60, 70 yards wide. And the river is very wide, and it goes for 30 miles. And the thing about the White River that you have to be very careful, it's a pale water stream. The water in the stream is controlled by the power dam, the Bull Shoals power dam. And when the Corps of Engineers decides they're going to dump water from the dam in that stream, that thing will come up 8 feet. There isn't a year goes by, but we lose somebody drowning in that stream because they don't know how to fish it, they don't know what to look for. To be careful. It's a dangerous, dangerous stream. But it has some great fishing in it. Now the fishing isn't as good as it was a few years ago when I came here. Oh man, we used to catch some big fish in there. I'd go for a weekend, 3-day weekend of fish. Now I always was fly fishing, so I didn't have very heavy equipment on. But I would say that if I didn't hook onto 5-pound trout in that weekend, I figured I had a bad day. Now I wouldn't say I'd land them because they'd break me off with my light tackle. But I would get into a 5-pound trout in that weekend, even if they didn't catch them. Well, the first time I took Gary to there, we took Dale Fulton as our guide. Dale was a great fisherman. I've seen him on television. Dale owned fishing guides up in Montana. He had 7 guides working for him up there. He had the king up in the business. Then he came down here and opened up his fly shop down here, and Dale was a great fisherman. So the first time I was going to take Gary fishing on the White, I hired Dale Fulton to be our guide. So we get the boat on a truck. Gary and I and Dale go down on the White. And right below the dam this way and this way. And this way is kind of shallow. It's not too much of a big stream here. It's stronger on this side. So, but Dale told Gary, he says, you fish over here, and he says, I'll get the boat in the water. Well, before Dale got the boat in the water, Gary had caught 2 fish, 5 pounds or better, 5 pounds of trout. They were on the feeding bed, and they were breeding. They were breeding, and I don't know which he caught it first. I think he caught the male first, and went right back in the same spot and caught the female that was working on them. Of course, we released them, but it went down. But that was the type of fishing that you could get when you first came here. And then fishermen started to come here from Texas, from Japan, from all over. And we got an awful lot of fishing now on the White River. And the size of the fish has deteriorated a lot. So the last 2 years, we've started on the White River, catch and release areas where they stock the trout. Mm-hmm. You can't fish with live bait. You can't fish with worms. And you have to release all the fish that you catch. It's catch and release. That way it gives the trout a chance to get to a larger size. And sometimes you'll get some real big ones in there. But even the smaller ones you get there, you know that they're going to grow. And because it has a fantastic rate of growth on the White River. And if anybody catches them, you must release them and put them back so you do have a chance to catch them.
Give you a little.
Just say something about arrowheads. Actually, that's a misnomer. Indian artifacts would be better because there was a lot of things other than arrowheads. Catskill, the village of Catskill, was situated on the conjunction of the Catskill Creek and the Hudson River. In olden times, the Mohegan Indians camped along the river. And one of the things that always fascinated me and a couple of my buddies was looking for Indian artifacts along the river. Now the best place to look for was a plowed field, especially after it had rained. It made the arrowheads stand out. And I have spent many days from the time I was small looking and collecting at artifacts, maybe scrapers, Indian arrowheads, ceremonial heads. I'm like one mind, kids. Yeah. Hatchet heads, that's what I'm thinking about, hatchet heads. They weren't easy to find. But I imagine it was kind of hard for the Indians to lose them. But it's really amazing to me that the Indians, all the hard work that went into making arrowheads, would lose so damn many of them. Perfect shape. Plus, they might have had a foul there with some other Indians shot, lost a lot of them in the woods, and eventually came up when we did plowing years and years later. But we know where the campsites were, and I see days when I go out and find several broken pieces, but no perfect arrowheads at all. A lot of times I have get skunked, and some days I go out and find 2 or 3. and they were in good shape. And it was always a challenge. I went to different places to try to find them. And that guy found a nice hatchet head one time when I was a teenager working on a guy's farm, away from the river. Wasn't even expecting, wasn't even looking for it. I found a nice hatchet head on Dub Riley's farm. And I kept the track of them and mounted them. And Mike has my selection of mounted. And Al has. Now, Kathleen mentioned something about the island underneath the Ripple Bridge. I never looked for any artifacts under there. There might have been. Under the Ripple Bridge going across the Hudson River from Catskill to Hudson, there is an island, a small island, underneath that bridge. I have never been on that, and I have heard that'd be a good place for Indian artifacts, but I have nothing to substantiate that at all. I have never been there, never looked for any of them there.
It's in the water? Under the water, that island is?
No, the island is an island.
Oh,
An
in
island
between those two.
is an island, but it's underneath the bridge.
Oh,
The water, Hudson River goes on both sides of it, goes around it. It's an island. I don't know. I did anything I say would guess maybe it's 300 yards long, 150 yards wide, something like that. Next time you go from Hudson to Catskill or something, look over the bridge and see how wide that island is there. But I have never been on that island. What else do you have there?
I think that's it. My cake's done. Okay, that's good.
On an atoll in the Pacific, this poem was written by a GI. Unfortunately, his name has been lost to us, and we don't know who wrote this. But I think that this has a lot to do with what the fighting man put up with in all places of the world. This poem is called The 5%, author unknown. And it goes something like this. In battle plunged 100 men, and 95 came out again. Yes, they come out alive. But still we find we're just as dead as if the half 100 bled, instead of merely 5. But we were those who died that day. You read that curt communique. Our casualties were light. And we, like you, thought it well that we were but a few who fell, while more live on to fight. But still, we 5 had families, friends, for whom at last all hoping ends in tears for years to come. Our losses have been late so far. Well, that depends on who you are. Not very late for some.
Okay. Name some of the people you really enjoyed fishing with over the years.
Well, really enjoyed fishing with probably Pearlie Van Dusen. He was my mentor. He was the one that taught me fly fishing. He was a good companion to be with. lot of them that I've enjoyed. I enjoyed a fishing trip up on the Miramichi, or in Canada. One time I was up there for a few days. We was up there with Charlie Howard from Catskill. Charlie died a couple years ago. Charlie was a good baseball player. I played on the same baseball team with him. I played in the same golf team with him. He's dead. But it was with Charlie Howard and Billy Macarelli and the golf pro from the Catskill Country Club, Danny Powell. We had a lot of fun. And prior to that trip, I had talked to Billy Macarelli and tried to convince him to quit smoking. And he seemingly, I thought he had quit smoking. And we come in from fishing that night, and we're sitting around the table getting ready to eat something. And Billy pulls out this big cigar and starts puffing away. And I said, Billy Macarelli, I said, what the hell are you doing? I said, you told me you quit smoking. And he looked at me, and he looked at the nice big Manhattan I had in my hand. He said, did you ever hear about cirrhosis of the liver? What could I say? But we had a lot to do. Fishing, Canada, I was up on a trip in Canada, and it was pretty expensive in those days, and it was exceptional fishing. It was all catch and release. Well, not all catch and release. You were allowed one fish a week, and once you caught that fish, that was all. You could keep fishing, but you were only allowed one fish. And I was coming back on the train, on the plane, I said plane, on the plane, and we were going to pick up a plane in Montreal. And I was sitting there when a fellow in a suit got on the plane and asked if he could set a seat beside me. And this was right during the aftermath of the Olympics in Canada. And so he sat down and we got talking, and he found out that I was a fly fisherman. And he says, oh, I'm a fly fisherman too, you know. So they kept talking what had happened. His father had died in Germany, and he was on the way to catch the plane to go for his father's funeral. And after the aftermath of the Olympics, planes were hard to get. Transportation was hard to get. But he had it on the plane, explained the circumstances to him. And so they were holding the plane for a few minutes in Montreal till Wolf got there for his flight back. And this was in September, I think. And we got real friendly and all. He says, no, he says, you've got to come up and fish with me up here. He says, you've got to come up and fish with me. And he's telling about all the big fish up there like that. And so I said, great, you know. But I didn't think much of it. I thought it was a bunch of BS. And like at Christmas time, I get a card from him telling about, remember to get back from fishing up there with him. And so I called him on the phone, and he was very sincere about me coming up there. And one of the things that fly he's talking about that they use a lot up there, and oh gosh, a fly. Well, it really doesn't make any difference. But he asked me, he says, now do you have enough of those? I said, yes. I says, I've got a dozen of them. A dozen? He says, you're apt to go through a dozen in a day. I said, you So I bought another couple dozen, and I went up there and stayed with he and his wife. Now he was the baker for the whole town. Churchill Falls was a town run by the government, Canadian government. Third largest power project in the world, electrical power. And the government owned everything. They owned the liquor store, they owned the food market, they owned the grocery store, they owned, the whole town was owned by the power company and the government. And those people never turned off a light. Didn't make any difference. They never paid for any electric, so they never turned off any light. So I went up there and joined Wolf and lived with him for about 10 days, he and his wife. And Wolf was the baker for the whole community. And so he got through pretty early in the morning. He got through baking probably 4:30. He'd come home and we'd get our stuff together and we'd go out to fish. And this is Churchill Falls. And one of the places that we liked to fish was Lobstick. Lobstick was about 50 miles from Churchill Falls. It took us a long time to get there because you blew out tires so easily. And you always carried extra tires with you, a shovel, other equipment, which you never knew what you were going to run to, including bears. And so I fished with him for a week, and he hooked onto a lot more fish than I did, but I landed a lot more because he was impatient fishing. He was a very impatient fisher. Cat went on, had to get it in, and like that. And so I enjoyed that time. I went up the next time, had a great time with him. Then I took Gary up, and we fished and caught some very big fish. Those fish that are mounted on my wall, the game room, are two of the three that we brought back to mount. Gary brought one back to mount, a brook trout, and I brought those trout back that I got on the wall there. And the next year, Wolf was leaving Churchill Falls, so he didn't have a place to stay anymore. And but Wolf had this friend up there by the name of Bob. So Bob and his wife had never met us, never laid eyes on us. And they offered their home to us. Gary and I to stay there fishing. Not only that, they had a new, I think it was a Jeep Cherokee. I know it had just over 1,000 miles on it. And he let us take it for the whole week just to run around and go fishing. That's the way the people are up there. They're old frontier style. If you need something, we're there to help you.
What happened to Wolf? Where'd he go?
Wolf, the last I heard, was in Montreal. I guess it was almost 2 years now since I've heard him. Wolf came back to see us here, the States. Went down to see Gary. I took Wolf up on the White River. He caught he caught a big trout. Those days we'd catch big ones. We caught about a 5-pounder. And Wolf took it to the chef while we were staying and had him fix it for us that night. But Wolf was very athletic and hopped around all over. And he was there one of the times when I was playing in the club championship. He was there.
Here in Arkansas?
No, at Columbia, in New York. He came down to see us down there. And so he followed around in the gallery, in the cart with Mom, and he was pretty excited. I won it that time, and so he thought that would be a pretty good thing to take up, so he took up golf. And God, he took it up so easy and did it so good. I mean, for a guy just taking it up. But we had experiences up there one time. It was cold. And this big like dam going across. And we fished in there, and I caught a couple nice trout. And this wind came up, and it was blowing like hell across the water. So Gary and I decided to go on the other side and set out of the wind on a dam. Bob Bauer had the Jeep, his own Jeep we were fishing with, and he decided to go up another 10 miles or so to look the place over about fishing. So Gary and I are sitting there on the side of the bank, side of this dam. Yes, and Gary says, look, and now we're about 150 yards or so, there's this black bear. And he smelled our trout, and he was coming. And Gary says, what do we do? I said, I haven't got any arm anymore. I can't throw rocks, but I can whistle like hell. And you make some noise. Oh, to make a long story short, we scared the bear off. But it wasn't a funny thing, that bear coming. And that same trip, well, not same trip, one of the previous trips, I was with Wolf and Gary and I. And there was a cabin way out about 20, 25 miles. It had been a cabin that the Canadian government had used for their surveying team and like that. And we decided to stay in that cabin for a couple of nights. And we could see where the claw marks had been on the side of the cabin. But we didn't think about it much. And at that time I had 2 contact lenses. I couldn't see a damn thing at night. And I had to get up and urinate. And I went out, stood on the steps of the cabin, and was urinating. And I said, geez, that wind must be blowing up pretty good. I see those trees making a movement. Well, I didn't forget to go. The next night, earlier, look out, there's this bear. No, I'll take it back. That was later on. That night, we're sleeping, Gary's sleeping just inside the door. I'm sleeping back. His couch is right by the door. And all of a sudden, there's this crash. The bear had ripped that door, and the door went slam against Gary's cot. Well, I guess we were hollering, and we guess we scared the bear away, but we didn't have a gun, any of us. Like that knife was about the best thing we could have. And the next night, we put buckets over the stairs, we put barricades. The deer came back the next night, I think, and we saw the night before, when he hit that door to come open, he ripped the whole door down with his claws, hitting the door down. And it was a little scary thing, no guns or anything up there, with a deer, and there are a lot of bear up there. And you've got to be careful. In fact, the first time I went up, in a river, the guy had a guide, and the guide showed me the tree that he had to go up before the bear went after him, and showed the tree and where it dropped his hat, the guy. So I had a lot of good fishing with them up there. And I went a couple of years for salmon, but pearly and doozen. And the first year we stayed at this honey lodge, and we didn't do anything. I had the laziest guide. He was the last one in the water in the morning and the first one out in the evening. And I was getting disgusted. I wasn't catching any salmon or anything. And we finally come to where this stream, good-sized stream comes in with this other river. I told the guide, anchor the boat up there. I said, I'm going to fish right down. He says, you're not going to find any salmon down there. I said, I may not find any salmon, but I'm not finding any with you now. I says, I think I'm going to get some nice trout out of there. It was just a side place that's a Traver to hang out. And Jesus, I did catch 2 or 3 nice trout. But that guy, because it was the last day he was working with me, and you're not allowed to fish for salmon with lures like that. So, because he's looking for a good tip, but he hadn't done anything to get a tip. And he put on one of those lures, spinning lure, and he caught the salmon. And he looks at salmon and he hands the rod to me. He says, here you are. I said, I don't want that rod with salmon on it. I says, you caught it. You bring it in, and you take the responsibility for it because you had done the thing. And prior to that, I was telling you about the fishing with Pearlie the Newson and the guide, and he stayed at the guide's house with his wife, good with a daughter. But the guide worked the lumber farming, but lumber business, you know, felling trees, something like that. They worked as a guide in the all the time. And I caught 3 nice salmon this day. And we were fishing, we had been fishing for them up on top of the water, you know, with flies that would float like that. And we weren't doing much. So I got a couple of flies and weighted them, put them down under the water. I started to do business, and I allowed to do it. And the guy had 3 nice salmon there, and these game detectives come along. And this fellow knew him. We just started talking, but I could see my guide was kind of agitated like that. And I thought we talked with him for half an hour. And we talked about how much the salmon jumped, you know, and how long it took me to get it in like that. And finally, the game detectives go away. And he said, man alive, he says, I thought sure the hell I was going to lose my license. What do you mean I could lose your license? He says, you had a sinker on that line. He says, you're not allowed to do that. He says, I could have lost my guide license. I said, nobody told me, but I said, there wasn't catching any fish on the top of the water, so back home lots of times, trout, I would sink my fly on the surface and fish down on the surface.
Good thing you didn't say it.
Why? And I had 3 salmon, and that's the funny thing. It's the only salmon I caught for the week. Pearlie the Newson, much better fisher than I am, much better fisher. And he didn't get any salmon that week. And the guy that we were living with, he hooked 7, but he only got 1 in. He's just too impetuous like that. But we didn't go back there again. I don't know why we didn't go back, but I guess maybe because we didn't catch such great fish. But the salmon fishing is entirely type of fish. When you get those on, they'll jump on you and they'll take off and go. And you think you've got them right into the shore and net them and they're gone.
Well, that's the fun of it, I would
That
think.
is the fun of getting them finally in. And Gary, my son-in-law, only time I've ever seen him mad. Gary's pretty easygoing. And I never saw him really mad except this time. We were up in Canada fishing, and we were fishing mainly for trout, big trout, and some pickerel and pike. And occasionally you'll get a landlocked salmon, they call them, the natives call them wannish. might cast your line out here and hook them. You don't think you got them. And maybe over here, 100 yards. 100 yards, you'll see this fish come out of the water. Your line's over here, but he's up here coming out of the water. And he's taking your line all the way up there. Watch. They really fought. They gave you a tremendous fight. And I had caught a couple for the week. Gary didn't have any of those. He had those trout and others, but he didn't have any wanish. And I'm fishing, 10 yards from him this time, and he gets one on. And it's giving him a real battle. And he's up and down and around, and he's getting all excited. He gets him pretty well worn out, and he got him right to his feet where he's going to net him. And just as he get ready to net him, the salmon saw that net, and he come out of the water and gone and snapped the hook off. He had been trying for a week to get him. Down goes his hat. Down goes his rod. Gary was some unhappy German, I'm telling you, boy, when he lost that one-ish. And he didn't catch another one because it was the end of the week anyway. But that was the first time I've ever seen Gary real mad. But Wolf had a little cabin out quite a ways on one of these small lakes. And I stayed with Wolf out there in his cabin and his dog. And we cooked food out there and like that. And we had a good time with him out there. Gary and I had some good times, some good fishing up there. But Wolf had been working for the company there, his baker, and he got another job in Montreal, paying him quite a bit, because Wolf had studied in Europe, in big schools in Europe, and he was a gourmet cook.
There's big money in that nowadays. If you're a good cook.
He happened to be working as a baker in Churchill Falls, but he was a gourmet cook, and he could really cook.
Okay, why don't we take a break and get some water?
I said you always carried extra tires and extra equipment because those roads were rough. And you drove maybe 30 miles an hour if you were really in a hurry. And this night, we were going out to fish lobstick, which is about 60 miles from Churchill Falls. That's where the big power dam was up there. And so we got up there, and we looked, and there we got a flat tire. But Wolf was anxious to get fishing, and we had a spare anyway. Like that. So we go out fishing. This is after supper. And he came back with a car to get something or other. He said, Clint, he says, we got 2 flat tires. Now we are 60 miles from Churchill Falls. We had 2 flat tires. So it so happened there were 2 Canadian surveyors from the Canadian government out there, and they were staying in this little home out there, and they were French too, and they were good. So Wolf says, what I'll do, he says, I'll borrow a car and take these 2 tires into the garage and get them fixed. He says, I should be back about midnight or so. I said, don't worry. I says, I'll mess around here out fishing like that. Wolf says, oh, you can't catch any fish this time of night. He says, nobody catches any fish this time of night. So anyway, these two French guys invited me into their mobile home there, and it was raining like heck. And we had some nice wine, and I forgot what he fixed, but it was good to eat. And it stopped raining. And around 10 o'clock, I went out and something to do with some fishing. I had a fabulous time. I just tore them up. And a little after midnight, when Wolf gets back with the tires, and I told him, well, fishing. He said, I'm sure you didn't do any good. I said, well, look at these. I had these. He said, I didn't think you could catch fish this time of night. Well, it's, back home in Traver. It's a good time to fish at night. And so we kept a fish quite a lot there because Wolf had a smokehouse. He made it a smokehouse out the back of his yard. And so we did cure the fish and cut them up and smoke them to keep. They did a funny thing up there I'd never seen before. I'm kind of queasy about the thing. Wolf's wife had a big freezer. And we catch some of these fish. We throw them right in the freezer. Guts in and everything. Didn't bother to clean them. He said, no, he says, when we take them out of the freezer, they might be in there 2 months in that freezer, not being clean. They proved all right, I guess. But I just didn't like the idea. I like my fish clean before we put them away. And one time we were coming down in a little station wagon coming down the road, and he slams on the brake. That's what I want. That's what I want. I swear I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He goes to the back of the station wagon, grabs his hatchet, goes out in the field. There was some birch trees there. And he went out and he cut some of these birch trees to have the birch tree to smoke his fish with.
Where do you wish you could have fished that you never went to?
What?
Where do you wish you could have fished that you never went to?
Down in below Florida, in the
Caribbean? The Caribbean?
now this was down in the Bahamas and like that, and we were fishing in very low water. They're spooky fish, and they fight like hell. Those fish, you cast them, you see the tails up out of the water, and the fish have got their nose down, fishing in the bottom. You can see the tails up, and you cast to them. But I never got to do any of that bone fishing. I'd always wanted to go down there. They say it's fabulous fishing. Of course, there's a lot of places I couldn't afford to go. I never got to fish Alaska, and I never got to fish New Zealand. Especially I wanted to go to New Zealand. They got trout, free trout down there. And I like the New Zealanders and but I couldn't afford to go down there. You had all that time and that money to go down there. Argentina has some very fine fishing too. But I would say of the two places that I didn't get to go was down in Florida, then Alaska, we were just talking about the other.
Colorado usually has good fishing.
Yeah, but Colorado has good fishing, but they don't have any better fishing you got here. But that's one of the things when I came here. I said I fished a lot. I fished a lot in Canada. I fished all of New England states, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. I said, but when I came here, I probably had the best fishing in the continental United States. But then the word got out people used to come in here from Japan, all over, because the word got out what great fishing we had here. And when I first came here, I go out for a weekend of fishing, 3 days. Now, as I was fly fishing, so you're using very light tippet, you know. And on one of those 3 days, I would feel very bad if I didn't hook onto a 5-pound trout. I wouldn't say I'd land them, because I'm using very, very light tippet. Not really heavy enough stuff. But if I didn't at least hook on 1 to 5 pounds, I felt I had a bad trip. Now, when I go out now, if I get 1 2-pound, I figure I've done damn good. And most of those are under that. This catch and release is going to be good. And the spring river that I fished a lot when I came here, it's up in Mammoth Springs, 15, 20 miles from us. Great, great fishing, and then the word got around. And the worst thing for fly fishermen happened in this country was that movie. The river runs through it. Jesus, that movie. A lot of people saw it and said, oh, Jesus, fly fishing is great. And so more people tried to get into fly fishing, and more people on the streams. Like one guy got a little teed off at me. I was fishing up a mountain hole, and he was fishing fairly close to me. And I probably caught and released 20 trout. This guy couldn't catch him. He didn't know what was going on. He couldn't catch him. And so he came over to me and begged me to catch a fish for him so he went to take a trout home. Wouldn't do it. And he was very unhappy. Again, learn to fish and give him yourself. Because one thing I saw on his belt, he had his metal stringer. And I'll see guys on trout streams and talk to them. I'll give them any kind of advice that I can give them, as long as I don't see a stringer. That means they keep them. They're catch and release. I'll tell the guys what I'm using, how I'm doing it, like that. And I've got a lot of information myself. There was up below the doctor's there this one time. This fellow was fishing above me. It looked like we were fishing in good water. I couldn't do nothing. This guy's killing him. And I walked up, 20, 25 yards maybe. Got talking, and he showed me the fly he was using. I didn't have any of that, and he gave me one. And I went back down and I started hitting him with that fly. But he was the guy who was willing to tell me what was going on. And I'll tell other people and help other people fly fish like that. But not if they're going to keep the trout. Because that means you can't catch them again. Once you catch them, you hook them, take them home. They're out of the stream. You're not going to catch them again. We had a very good fly fisherman in the Cherokee Village. And he was a good fly fisherman. He had a fly fishing shop up on the Vermont-New York border. Before I moved to Cherokee Village, I visited this fly shop. And it was in the fall. And I ran into him out in the stream. He says, Jesus, Clint, he says, fishing's bad. He says, fishing's damn slow. I said, well, I'm going to tell you just like it is. I said, you're a good fisherman, damn good. I says, your wife is dead. You fish at least 6 days a week. You don't violate the law, but every day you catch 6 trout. And And then you bring them home to Cherokee Village and try to find somebody to give them to that may not even want the thing. And it's just you to eat. I says, you know, I says, we keep taking these trout out of the stream. Pretty soon there aren't the trout there to catch. Especially in the fall, they don't stock that much. And we do, you take a lot of trout out, and there aren't that many more trout to catch.
Mm-hmm.
And he died. I asked him what he did or something one time. Oh, he says, I'm a painter. I said, yeah. I told him, he said, what do you paint? Outside or inside and like that? Well, the year before, he'd been over it and did Winston Churchill. He was a portrait painter, a famous portrait painter.
Wow.
And I thought it was a guy that painted barns and stuff, you know.
He was a good painter.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a break.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite thing to do at the age of 10?
Age of 10. Favorite thing, probably go looking for arrowheads
Okay.
in the United Past. Although at that age I was still playing ball, I started to play ball.
Favorite thing to do at 20?
At 20. Favorite thing to do at 20 was golf and semi-pro hockey.
40?
40 would have to be fishing and golf.
60?
Same thing, fishing and golf.
Okay. What historical figure would you have liked to meet? Did you watch the History Channel all the time?
Well, I can't say Einstein because I wouldn't understand him. That's a person that you might like to meet, historical figure. Well, I'm not going to say Washington either because I would have just been a private in his army, and that was a damn tough thing. So, I don't know, I'd have to think I'm not.
Okay. What event in the future do you wish you'd see?
Thing I'd like to see is, well, I'll never see it, a worldwide peace. Have all countries, all religions get together like that. None of this killing, which we're getting so much now. More and more killing.
Okay. What 3 inventions would you hate to give up?
Well, for me, I'd hate to give up printing press, television, automobile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Anything you wish was never invented?
Gunpowder.
If you could make 1 or 2 changes in your life, what would they be?
Yeah, well, I don't know for good life. I don't know how I'd change it much.
Okay.
But
What's your favorite Kathleen story?
I don't know.
Okay, say Michael again. So we
If,
know.
Michael, up at the country club, we had a fence going around the scoreboard, like following the path. And Michael had got this bucket of balls and had the cart, and he was trying to watch the balls and drive the cart. And he didn't make it out very good, and he wiped out that fence. He wiped out about 20 feet of fence there. Now they've taken that fence down. I don't know if it was because of Mike, but anyway, that fence is no longer there. We've had Mike fishing up on the White River when he was young, and we got some beautiful fish up there. And but I'll tell you one little story with Gary and Mike and I. We were fishing the White River, and where we were fishing was wide, probably about 200 yards wide. Now, it wasn't deep, but it was wide. And as I had said before, you've got to be very careful with that river, because if they let that water out and that water comes up, you can get drowned so easy. And we had checked with them for 3 days in a row. They hadn't let any water on. And we checked in the morning. We called the dam to see if they let any water on. And this day again, they didn't let any water on. So I said, "This is great, we got another day with good fishing." So we're fishing down below there, and I catch this nice fish on. And Mike come out to help me land it because there was a big log there like that. And when I got through, we released him and let him go. And there's a sandbar there. And so Gary, Mike, and I, we sat down on the sandbar, BS, and like that. Right then a thunderstorm comes up. And it starts raining. And I said, "Well, this is one of these southern storms. It won't last long." I said, "We go back fishing." And I said, "Let's go back in the car and have something to eat, and then we'll go back fishing later." So we hiked back to the car, which is a couple hundred yards maybe from where we were. Got in the car and started to have something to eat. And somebody, I don't know who mentioned it, said, "Look out the window." We looked out the window, and here the river was coming up and going right down. Now when we were in that sandbar, we were a good 150 yards from that shore, which is pretty dead tough walking. I like that. And we were so lucky that account of that storm that we went back to the car to eat because we'd been caught out in that river. Now, Mike being such a strong guy, he could have probably got me ashore, but it wouldn't have been easy because that water keeps coming up. It gets harder and harder, and more current and stuff like that. But we got there. No big trouble.
Okay, what's your thought on politics?
On politics. Well, I'm a little bit to the right of Barry Goldwater and William F. Buckley. In other words, I'm an ultra-conservative.
I don't think you're that conservative. I don't think you're as conservative as you think you are.
Oh, yes, I am. I'm
Not
pretty,
as much as Ma.
oh,
God almighty.
well, Mom just gets involved in one stick, and that'll be it with that rallying like that. Well, I'm started in lots of ways, lots of states, lots of things. Incidentally, one time my aunt down in Mississippi died, and I went down for her funeral, and I was staying with my uncle there, and he was deacon in the church, and church every day like that. And I said to him, I says, where can I get a drink? I says, where can I get something around? He says, well, he says, we're dry. We don't have that stuff down here. But he says, if you really want a drink, I'll get in touch with my bootlegger and we'll get something. I said, yeah, great. Well, it'd be dry, and then you're talking about your bootleggers. And he was showing me a couple of the colored schools, what beautiful schools they had. Equal. I said, Uncle Norman, I said, the structure doesn't make a school. I said, it's the education you get out of that building that makes you a school. And if you have all these colored kids and inexperienced colored teachers, they're not getting a good education out of it. They might have a great building. They might have nice classrooms. They might have nice restrooms, but that is not an education. Yeah, I've always been very, very conservative. And I always figured if my boss made $1, I might get 10 cents of it. But if he doesn't make $1, there's no way he's going to give me 10 cents because he can't afford it. That's what I've always believed in, everybody doing things for themselves. Hey, when I took a chance with my business, I didn't have that much experience. But I always figured if my boss could make $1 off of me, I could make $1 off myself. And I have a lot of people that have confidence in me. The Zerns, the Erie Burial Case Company, they put in my caskets, and when I sold one, I replaced it and paid them for the one I sold. I had a fellow that sold funeral coaches, and he let me take a used funeral coach. He didn't know me, didn't even met me, but he knew my father. And I knew my father was an up-and-up, honest guy. And I had a big account with the Erie Burial Case for quite a long while. And it got to the point where I really needed a new showroom. And I owed Erie Burial Case quite a bit of money. So I talked to the president of Erie Burial Case Company. And I told him, I says, I can pay off right now all the money that I owe you. But I says, what I would rather do is, I says, I'd rather put a casket selection room into my business, so I can display the caskets better, so I can sell better merchandise. He says, you do that. He says, we'll keep carrying it. And they carried me for a long while. I would sell a casket and replace it and pay it for them. And I know about other casket manufacturers come in who wanted to sell me caskets like that. I was in the first 10 years. I said, nope. I said, the Erie Burial Case Company carried me all those years when I didn't have the money, and now I'm getting so I can make a few bucks. I said, I'm not going to desert them. And we had a salesman from, don't make any differences, the company sales float, an old Dodge salesman. And hey, the little business I did, you didn't use a hell of a lot of stuff. And he'd been calling on me for a while. I gave him a little order now and then like that. And he said to me one day, He says, you know, he says, I can't keep affording coming over here and stopping to see you. He says, if I don't get some more business out of you than I'm getting, then I can't afford to do it. I said, well, that's up to you. I said, I can't buy anything I'm not going to need. And I says, don't look down on the little guy. He may not always be little. And it wasn't after that, we opened up the Catskill Funeral Home, had to buy a lot of stuff, and Dodge didn't get any of that business.